What's going on, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? The ACMJS Gamer here. Today, I wanted to do a little bit of a different video. You guys on the channel, you've seen demos from E3 from me, gameplay, let's plays, just commenting on like news articles and stuff. So I wanted to do my first kind of sort of video essay, if you will. I don't think it'll be too long. But basically, I want to ask a question and then present, I guess, facts and evidence, and then kind of let you guys decide on the answer. So, we all know that Cyberpunk is a really big deal and just got pushed back to September 15th later this year. So, while that's sad, it does give the devs more time to polish the game. Um, but it's also unfortunate because so many titles have been pushed back um, to later this year that the first game that is good for my channel and I'm gonna love personally is The Last of Us Part 2, which comes out in May, I think 29th. So that'll be a good game to play, and I think it'll be a really good game for it being the first really big game of the year. With that out of the way, let's get into the video, starting with Anthem. The first game would be Anthem, which it was first revealed, and it looked like a game everyone would enjoy. The hype around this game before it came out was absolutely ridiculous, and I actually got a chance to play the game in its alpha stage, and at the alpha stage I had already decided that this wasn't going to be a game that I pre-order. And of course, as you can see here through the comparisons between retail and E3 2017, the gameplay doesn't look at all like the gameplay shown in the demo, nor do the graphics. You can see there's significant amounts of downgrade between the two versions. And while the idea in the concept sounds very good on paper, the idea overall was executed very, very poorly. The second game or title that I want to bring into this discussion is was very hyped at the time, and it was a brand new IP using the Tom Clancy brand name. It was received rather well, and it was applauded for the visual graphics and gameplay. I'm talking about Tom Clancy's The Division. Everyone, myself included, were super excited, and we were at least interested where the game would go. Unfortunately, the gameplay and the UI that was first shown in the demo you see here was no longer the game we had come to fall in love with. Ubisoft showed the new demo just about a year later, and most missed was the population of items and garbage that cluttered the world and the UI. Many fans found lacking compared to the original that they did indeed fall in love with. The third and final title that I'll be covering as an example of course, is Fallout 76. And the hype isn't as important here, but just Bethesda Game Studios and how they've reacted and treated and done the updates, and the hype from the get-go that was behind this interesting concept of a multiplayer online-only game. It was poorly executed, just like the other two. All of the games mentioned had some sort of fan base after the games were demoed and before the actual product was being played by consumers. All of the games had hype from the player fan base, but the products just didn't hold up. So many companies like EA and Ubisoft, not to mention Bethesda, they don't have any particular great track record when it comes to quote unquote living up to the hype. So where does Cyberpunk 2077 come in? Well, to start off, the hype of the game, or to try and figure this out, where does the hype come from? Well, the interest of the genre of cyberpunk has been all over the place, from books to movies to TV to tabletop games, and now, finally, into video games. There's only one other series that's, I guess, kind of well known. It would be the Deus Ex series, and there's something about the genre of the future and the scenario of what if. So the inspiration of the game actually came from a series of games by the same name, created by Mike Pondsmith. Some of the hype comes from the people who play those types of games, which are RPG tabletop games. Another group of hype, quote unquote, would come from the audience that CD Projekt Red themselves has built over the years, from solely based on the Witcher series. And of course, the last group would be the latest group of fans who are excited about the game for the sole purpose that Keanu Reeves is playing a major character within the game. So essentially, with all that out of the way, all the backstory and where did the hype come from, it's not a simple question. Is the hype too real? Considering CD Projekt Red is a credible studio and it is known as such that they have managed to prove themselves over and over again, let's start with the game editions, specifically with The Witcher 3. I bought the standard edition of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and inside, when I first got it, were stickers, a map, the game disc, and the game's soundtrack. All of these things would have costed 80 to $100 and considered to be a special or even deluxe edition. Ubisoft. So they give fans and consumers a bang for their buck, and even more than that, what they would expect out of typical companies. Last point about The Witcher that I want to make is, according to Game Length, a website where you can record your gameplay times on average, according to this website, it takes about 137 hours to complete the main game by itself. And on top of that, they added on later the infamous Hearts of Stone DLC, which was around on average 32 hours, and the Blood and Wine DLC, which was around 36 hours. And both of these DLCs expanded on the map overall and added tons of new side quests and areas to explore. So where does this leave us with Cyberpunk? Well, we have two editions for Cyberpunk. We have the standard and the collector's edition. There's nothing in between. It's either one or two. One of the game devs actually said, quote, "We don't want you to have to use a chart to help decide which version of the game to play." It wasn't directly mentioned, but he was clearly talking about the hassle of buying a version of The Division 2 at the time. And unlike most game companies, they're also very transparent, and they have sent out multiple messages over the years as to the quote-unquote state of development, and even showing off multiple demos, being at just about every game show, letting some players demo the previous year's demos and doing multiple shows and things like that. So naturally, given CD Projekt Red's transparency with the fans, the way they've decided to do business with consumers, with only two editions, and of course the attention to detail and the ability to work with the creators of the original content. Because if you didn't know, Mike Pondsmith is the one who created this idea of the tabletop genre for Cyberpunk. He didn't create tabletop RPGs, but specifically this Cyberpunk brand, if you will. And CD Projekt Red is working closely with him and, of course, Keanu Reeves to develop the game to a point where they feel like it would be ready for players to play. And that's simply why it was delayed until September 15th. So let me ask you guys, is the hype too real? Please leave your comments down in the comment section below. I want to hear your thoughts on maybe why you're excited for the game, or maybe why you're not excited for the game. You could be excited, you may not be. You may not want to touch this game at all. I have no idea. So I will see you guys in the next video. Please reach out to me. Tell me what are your thoughts. I'll see you guys next time.